I know the problem of evil is almost the default when it comes to deconstructing Christianity or really any religion. If you're new to this or just haven't found your answers to the problem of evil, this video is for you. We're going to go in sections addressing different problems and going more in depth with them. These are things that I still don't understand how God could create the way that He does. If I'm using too much ex Christian language, let me get into the core concept of the problem of evil. If God is all knowing, He's obviously aware of all the suffering that happens. If God is all powerful, He'd have the capability to stop it. If He's all loving, He'd want to stop it. Or so I think. But yet, He doesn't. And even when Christians claim he intervenes, such as through medical personnel, we still have lives lost despite God supposedly working through people. I hope that clears things up. Let's get into it. First up is the world's water crisis. I was shown a documentary in 11th grade English that terrified me that we'd run out of clean water in the next few decades. We still might, unfortunately. I really hope not. According to the US Bureau of Reclamation, only 3% of the water on Earth is fresh. However, 2.5% of that is polluted, underground, in caves, or stuck in glaciers. 0.5% of the water on Earth is drinkable. Now, why would God create life so that it needs water to survive, yet decide only that small portion of it can be consumed? But Megan, you know you can turn salt water into fresh water. Indeed, you can, but that's time consuming and expensive. We know God created people in a way where they're obsessed with making money, and making money means as little expenses as possible, which in turn means nobody's going to want to spend that money needed to do this. Besides, for most of human history, we didn't know how to do all that we know now. All these animals roaming the earth don't know either. But let's look deeper into those statistics. A third of the available fresh water is used for farming. 59% is used for various industries. The other 8% is water that we actually drink. That's 0.004% of the world's water supply, if I'm correct, that is actually used to keep humans alive. We could increase that, but we need to decrease the water we use for farming, which we need to feed people. And we still can't feed everyone. We have 1 million people a year dying from thirst, and another million from diseases related to dirty water. That's what the World Health Organization says, at least. That's about 2,700 people a day, 100 an hour, and nearly 2 a minute dying from thirst. Double those numbers to include diseases, and we've got a problem. I feel guilty just drinking tap water after doing this research. Is some of that due to decisions humans have made over the years? Of course. But the fact that God created the world with the foreknowledge that only one species could distill water and that they wouldn't be able to until 2,000 years ago, plus all these deaths as well, is crazy. And Christians also believe God is the one who takes away life. God is literally looking them straight in the eye and taking their life because they don't have enough of a resource He requires them to consume to survive. And it's not even their fault because God created the world such that 99% of the water isn't drinkable anyway. I can't even fathom how many animals, especially large ones, are dealing with this same issue, but they're dealing with a much larger issue at hand. This God that Christians worship every moment they can is also responsible for creating a world in which animals must brutally slaughter others to get food. Survival of the fittest. Some are even eaten alive. At the very least, plants are being eaten. Obviously, we as people can't really do much about this since we need food to survive. But it annoys me that so many animals are killed because another needs to eat, and that's just the way it goes. I can't do anything about it. God could have made it such that life didn't need to consume other life. Or better, God could have made it such that nobody needed to eat at all. Of course, there's a lot of good food out there we'd miss, but lots of food is made by humans anyway. In the Bible, we're constantly told that God delights in the smell of a burnt animal offering. I was taught food chains in biology. I was quizzed by the state on it. Yes, I'm aware that's just how it is. But to think an all loving God created this way is disgusting for me. Even if Christianity is compatible with evolution, which, by the way, they can't agree on, you have to explain why God created food chains the way they are. We could eat the ground or something, make it taste good so we'd actually want to eat it. I'm just throwing out these suggestions for what God could have done instead of this world we live in. He could have made healthy food have more flavor so we'd actually want to eat it. And I know it's not all bad, but imagine what aliens would think when they see the way our planet works. And if we didn't have videos of cats and dogs snuggling with each other, I don't know what I'd do to cope with this. Just to be curious, I googled why do animals have to eat each other to survive, or something similar. It took me to animals eating others of the same species. I do not know if I'm allowed to say that word for that on YouTube. Apparently, when food is scarce, animals will do this. At this point, God sounds like a horror movie character with all the gore he adores. Even if he isn't into it, he still endures it, witnesses it. After all, he's omnipresent, right? So I know I don't have facts to prove this. I'm sorry. But the fact that really the only two groups of eating falls into plant or animal eaters, or some combination of the two, means nobody wins in the end. At least pacifists don't, anyway. So I'm sorry I'm not showcasing any studies or statistics for this section, but I hope my perspective goes a long way. Caving disasters. While most caving disasters are from human errors, the fact that nature creates such tight spaces, and if you're not careful, you can just be wedged in between them, it's crazy. Too many times I have heard about camps doing this for fun, and then people die or get hurt badly. Like, why are they so naturally dangerous? Does God appreciate the YouTube videos these incidents will become with his foreknowledge? Yes, I have fallen down the caving disaster rabbit hole. Sometimes one person suffers as a result of another person's misfortune. Not to mention underwater caves, seemingly endless stretches with no pocket of air. And we're supposed to believe God created this with joyous intent, that the world was good, as it says so in the Bible. Sometimes the thumbnails aren't clickbait, too, which makes it even scarier that nature can do that, that God would allow that to happen, creating caves with the foreknowledge that they can brutally crush and wedge people. If God wasn't all knowing, I would be fine with him claiming ignorance. After all, free will. However, that's not the case, and I haven't found a good reason to believe this God is good. You can't even crawl through these things without a flashlight. A headlamp is probably easier, but I can't imagine going with a candle before those were invented and trying to traverse whatever lies in those caves. If you're into scary but true content, I definitely recommend going down the rabbit hole of caving disasters. I'm not sure how many of my viewers are into horror content. I wonder if YouTube will let me check. Speaking of horror fans, however, have you ever gotten those videos in your recommended that's like these horror movie monsters you will not survive. And then they give you all these biological reasons regarding pain receptors and essential organs about essentially why you would die. Well, I'd like to talk about how unnecessary pain receptors are in the grand scheme of things. Maybe not, maybe just in general. Well, every inhumane form of torture is the result of free will. What isn't anyone's fault is the amount of pain a person can endure. Some of these methods are specifically designed to prolong the pain. If God wanted to take someone's life as part of his divine plan, he could have made burning alive not painful at all, or at least not as painful. I know pain is the body's natural response, meant to try and keep us alive. I don't have a problem with the body trying to keep us alive. What I have a problem with is the amount of pain people and animals can experience, and why God doesn't think of a better option. Or I guess he thinks of it, but doesn't do it. So many people wouldn't be scared of death if the pain was lessened. And yes, I've seen videos on all the horrible torture methods. I actually suggest you don't go down that rabbit hole, but I can't stop you. If it is part of God's plan for animals to eat each other alive, at least don't make it painful. And if you're a horror movie fan, you know they design the deaths to be as painful as possible sometimes. You have to be aware of anatomy to pull that off. Same thing with torture message, but we already went into that. And I know sick and twisted humans trying to prolong prisoners' pain, wow, that's a tongue twister, aren't necessarily God's fault. Wait, actually, kind of, because they're created in God's supposedly perfect image. But free will limits the damage here, if it is free will. Because it's basically do the right thing and believe in this God, or you'll be eternally tortured. But you can choose whether you do it or not. It's not free will, it's a threat meant to keep people obedient. But whatever. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed me talking about issues regarding the problem of evil that are not often talked about. Thank you for watching. Goodbye. Most of human history, we didn't know how to do all that we do now. Now,